Why would somebody go vegetarian or vegan? Let's back up just a minute. Some people make the decision because it's a religious implication, and some people make it for health reasons. And I'm not trying to convince anybody here to go vegan or not go vegan. You know, this is a decision that you should make, but I also want you to understand that some people are not genetically suited for veganism, and it's very, very important that you understand whether or not that's you. And I'm going to kind of give you some tips without lab testing, because you can have certain testing done to try to help you determine this. And for that, I would recommend you work with a functional medicine doctor. But as far as symptomatology, so if you struggle with meat, if you find that eating meat does create acne, I mentioned these symptoms earlier, if it creates acne and severe constipation type issues, if you feel more sluggish and mentally lethargic, if you get a lot of gas and bloating and stomach pain when you eat meats, you might be one of those people that are genetically suited for veganism. And there are a lot of people out there that are. So I would say if those are the types of symptoms that you're having, you know, this would prompt me, in my opinion, for you, this would prompt a conversation to have with a good functional medicine doctor about running the appropriate test to discern this, help you to discern this. Of course, always you want to listen to your body. If you feel better not eating it, you want to go that direction. You just want to make sure that you're measuring these components as well. I'm glad Veronica's chiming in that, you know, she got rid of reflux on veganism or on a vegan diet, but she went on a heavy processed diet. And I think I'm glad you bring that up, because this is one of the cardinal mistakes that people make on a vegan diet, is that they don't really go on a healthy vegan diet. They go on what I call a grainatarian diet, which is largely grain-based foods that are packaged, right? And we're talking about like packaged corn and wheat and oatmeal and things of that nature. Highly processed, you know, grain-based foods. They're not really eating a lot of vegetables. They're buying stuff out of boxes, and that's not healthy. If you're going vegan to be healthy, know that if you're doing that, that's absolutely not healthy. French fries, just because they're not cooked in a meat-based oil, does not mean they're healthy. They're still fried in genetically modified corn or soy oil most of the time, and they're just not good. Fried food, as a rule of thumb, as a regular staple in the diet, is definitely not a good thing to consume. So again, if you're going vegan for health reasons and you're going in that grainatarian direction, I see so many people that have tried the vegan diet, and this is where they were, and they come to see me, and they're very, very sick as a result of this, not necessarily because a vegan diet wasn't the right fit, but because they went on an unhealthy vegan diet. So again, the premise in all of this is you can do this in a healthful way. You can also do it in a hurtful way. A lot of people do it without guidance, and they don't really know how to navigate it, or they don't have anybody guiding them through it, and they end up doing this, and that's a horrible idea. I've also seen people do like where they go fruitarian diets, and this can be a big problem too, because if you're only eating fruit, you know, it's pure fructose and glucose, and that can, you know, tend to lead to problems in the GI tract that lead to yeast overgrowth, among other things. And that, again, that can be a problem as well. It's not that fruit in and of itself is healthy, but if you limit yourself to only fruit, it can pose a problem. So going vegan, it's important that you understand there's a good way to do it, there's a healthy way to do it, and there's an unhealthy way to do it. It's the same thing for gluten-free diets, and you've heard me preach this for years. If you've been following me for any length of time, you can go on a gluten-free diet that is extremely unhealthy, that's full of processed foods, and you're not going to restore health. Remember, the 3 cardinal rules of nutrition, and I wrote about this in No Grain, No Pain, is rule number one, the most important rule. You cannot get healthy eating foods that are not healthy. So it doesn't matter what kind of diet you're following. If you're gravitating away from healthy choices, whether it's vegan, whether it's gluten-free, or whether it's a meat-based diet, it won't matter. You've got to choose healthy foods in order to be healthy. It's a cardinal rule of nutrition. Yeah, so a lot of you, I see some people saying, yeah, I take B12 injections, and that's what, you know, some vegans do. They get B12 injections. Now, on that note, and if I can get Alan to put up a link for you guys. Look, B12 injections, it's not that I'm opposed to them, but a lot of times they have added fillers. I've actually, you know, things like potassium sorbate and other, you know, which is a form of benzoic acid, which is a preservative. It's not good to inject that stuff into your body. A lot of your liquid B12s have those same types of preservatives in them. In addition, a lot of your B12 injections are cyanocobalamin with a C. So it's not a great form of B12 to inject. It's just not as metabolically ready for your body to use. So then your body has to struggle to try to get it ready to use it. So a better form of B12 would be like a hydroxycobalamin or a methylcobalamin or an adenosylcobalamin. And I like the lozenges. In my experience, you don't need to get injections. A lozenge, if it's the right kind and it's the right dose, will absorb through the cheeks and directly into the bloodstream. So you don't have to puncture the skin and run the risk of an infection with regular injections. So a good B12 lozenge can do the trick if it's highly bioavailable form. And so I have a couple different kinds. One is called hydroxycobalamin, another one is called Ultra B12. Both of those as lozenges absorb through the mucous membrane in your cheeks and get direct access to your bloodstream without having to do the injection. So if you found yourself doing injections and you're tired of getting needles stuck in you, you might want to consider that oral supplementation as well. Soon Thomas is asking about the blood type diet. There's actually, one of the clinical things that I have seen, at least, again, my own observations in my clinic with people, working with people for the last 18 plus years, is that people, generally speaking, with type A blood types do better on a pesco vegetarian based diet, meaning they just gravitate better. They don't digest the red meats as well. Again, it's one of the genetic markers that can be looked at, is that type A. So in regards to that question, which was blood type diet, if those of you who aren't familiar, there's a book called Eat Right for Your Type, and written by Dr. Peter Diadamo, refers to blood typing as trying to make food decisions based on your blood type. Again, I have seen this type A correlation very strongly in people that tend to do much better going on a vegetarian diet versus a meat-based diet. Those type A's tend to just have a lot of GI symptoms and a lot of problems and really, really struggle aggressively with a meat-based diet. Now, some people will struggle with a meat-based diet not because of genetics, and that's why I said earlier I prefer that those of you listening get with a good qualified functional medicine doctor who knows the right types of labs and testing to order and run and knows how to interpret those, because some people over here in this spectrum, they're eating meat, but they have low stomach acid. And with that low stomach acid, they don't digest the meat. And they don't have low stomach acid because it's a genetic problem. They just have low stomach acid because they've been damaging their stomach by putting the wrong foods in it. So when they put something like meat in the stomach that requires a lot of acid to be broken down, and their parietal cells are damaged, remember the cells in the stomach are called parietal cells, and those are the ones that secrete HCl, hydrochloric acid, to help you break down that protein in your stomach. Then what can end up happening is you can feel bad eating the meat, yet it's still not a good move for you to be over here. You feel better over here, but your body requires some of those nutrients from meat in greater quantities. And the real issue is there's damage to the stomach lining, and this can happen for several different reasons. There are certain types of infections that can hinder the stomach acid production. There are also medications that can hinder it, like antacids, Tums, and Rolaids, and Prilosec, and Tagamet, and Zantac, and Nexium are just examples of stomach acid reducing medications. Those of you who struggle with chronic external allergies understand that antihistamine medications can actually suppress stomach acid too. So if you're taking things like Benadryl, those types of medications are antihistamines and can interfere with the way that you produce stomach acid. So you want to understand that you could be doing something else that's creating your inability to digest that meat, and it may not be you needing to do that genetically because it's a better thing for you to do. It may be because your gut's damaged, especially people with a history of celiac disease or other inflammatory bowel diseases where we know those things, that damage can reach up into the esophagus and into the stomach as well. A lot of times what happens, years of chronic gluten exposure, for example, can damage these cells and put a person in a compromised position where they're not able to produce stomach acid as effectively. In these scenarios, again, this is why I recommend working with somebody who knows what they're doing, because in these scenarios, supplementing with betaine hydrochloride might be a good idea. I use something called Ultra Acid, which is a mixture of betaine hydrochloride and some other things, that if you've got damage in the stomach and you supplement with this, and the meat meat-eating diet, or I say meat-eating diet, it's not that you're just eating meat. I don't recommend a carnivorous diet for humans. It should be a mixture of meat and veg if meat is right for you. But supplementing sometimes with an acid-based supplement, some people use ACV, apple cider vinegar, and it helps improve their digestion when they're eating, when they find that they're eating things like chicken, turkey, or beef, or lamb, etc. So again, if you find yourself with meat struggling to digest it, this is a possibility for many people, just trying this and seeing if that gives you any improvement. But again, getting with the right doc and getting the right types of tests done to discern whether or not you fall on one side of this equation or the other is the smartest thing that you can do without having to guess it. Hey, and if you missed the earlier part of this series, click right here so you can go back and get caught up. The information there might be critical to helping you on your path to better health. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe for updates below. Have a great day.